Today I just want to go over my first thoughts with Delta Force, formerly known as Delta Force Hawk Ops. So they have a conquest style mode, large scale battle with multiple capture points, think like Battlefield. Then there's an attack and defend mode, it's like front lines type of mode. You're right up there, the enemy's right up there, they all know where you're coming from. You kind of get funneled in. I don't like that one as much. And then there's an extraction mode, which is kind of like Escape from Tarkov. It's kind of like DMZ, in addition to a campaign mode that's coming to the game. It's not in there right now. But another good thing is the devs have said that they've committed to no pay-to-win elements being added into the game, which I would definitely take with a grain of salt because Arena Breakout Infinite now made it so you can buy in-game currency with real cash. That's another extraction shooter made by the same exact company. The game has an arcade feel but also feels grounded and somewhat realistic while not being a milsim. That said, you can get shot a whole lot by players you don't see if you don't move wisely around the map and use cover as well as utility like smoke grenades. The pace can definitely slow down at times when you have to take gunfights slower when you're outnumbered, especially when you don't know where all the enemies around you are. I prefer the capture mode, which is the conquest style mode. Only 3 maps so far for that. I definitely could see myself getting my fix for that large scale style, more realistic military combat here, similar to what I would look for in a Battlefield game. Attack and defend is really chaotic and is like frontline combat that forces you and your team to have to push forward or hold the line. The extraction shooter portion of the game seems like something that would appeal more to somebody who wants to play a more campaign style or more personal mode that feels like you're invested into your character and your inventory. There's a main area where you walk around between missions and stuff that reminds me of Destiny or something, sort of like a town with vendors and stuff. I think a lot of people would like that feature if they enjoy that mode because it just gives a whole immersion to the whole mode, the town with the vendors. You feel like the character's yours, the items are yours. So if you go into the extraction shooter and you die and you lose all your best gear, you're going to be a little bit pissed off. You know, all that higher stakes, I think a lot of people like that higher stakes type of modes, whether it's search and destroy, whether it's battle royales, whatever the case may be. Alright, so there are hero shooter elements in the game. They don't seem too overtuned or cheesy, at least from my experience so far. They're definitely something to learn and use or be wary about in terms of your enemy's capabilities. But I don't feel like they're enough to take you out of the immersion of the large-scale combat feel that the game brings. Hopefully in the future they just don't go overboard with future abilities that they add to the game. There's a class system like Battlefield with roles, which is nice. Some guns are limited to specific operators, of which there are like 7 right now. The medic, assaulter, the defense guy with the deployable cover, the sniper recon, the sneaky character, the hacks. Pretty much all the archetypes are covered. They all have their own active abilities, of which there's like 2 of them apiece, along with the utility, and then they have a passive ability as well. Like, for instance, faster revive on your teammates for the medic, quieter walking footsteps for the hacker character. Pretty much anything that you can think of. There's no grapple hook or wingsuit like on Battlefield 2042 here though. I would definitely say that the gunplay is fun and satisfying. There's a leaning system where you can lean around corners. The guns have a good amount of recoil, or you can make them have really low recoil depending on how you tune them. There's level unlocks that you get for the guns. There's suppression mechanics which kind of remind me of Battlefield 1. You might love or hate that. You can hold your breath while shooting any gun, which is really good. It gives you a lot of firing stability and lower recoil, it seems like. At least visual recoil. There's definitely peeker's advantage on the game and various ping differences. You can't tell what your enemy ping is, but sometimes I can definitely tell I'm playing against somebody like overseas or on the other coast. But the netcode and everything feels pretty good. You will occasionally have some hiccups though. Desync, packet loss, etc. due to the large lobby size, putting many players from various locations together is just kind of going to be something that happens. And it could also be due to the fact that it's a closed alpha at the moment. And then once cross-play is in play, there's going to be more players closer to you, essentially. Another thing I think they're doing is texture streaming in order to keep the file size for the game low. So the game's like 50 gigs or something, but then every life when you spawn in, it streams some textures or something. So that could be a good or a bad thing depending on your internet bandwidth, depending on if you have unlimited data or not. I don't know how much it uses up, probably minimal amounts, but at the same time, that could be something that could be concerning for some players. Alright, we gotta talk about bots. They basically have GTA Online police levels of accuracy. They're most easily noticed by the way they stand out in the open or run in straight lines. They're just kind of in random areas of the map. Sometimes they have TTV even in their names. I saw one the other day named Jack Frags, no joke. It was just randomly camping and sniping. It had really low amount of kills. I'm almost certain it wasn't Jack Frags. The bots in the game are definitely not a good thing though, because not only are they annoying to get killed by, but they also just take away the satisfaction of playing against real people. As far as the audio goes, there's this setting called HRFT that's basically simulated surround sound, enabling you to really hear the direction of gunfire, explosions, footsteps, everything way better than having it turned off. It's literally a night and day difference having it on and off in terms of locating footsteps and stuff. Footsteps definitely really depend on the terrain that the person's running on. Gunfire sounds are really good, explosion sounds really good. The music's really good. I eventually turned it off just to have less audio distractions, masking footsteps and important audio cues. There's weapon tuning in the game where you can really calibrate different attachments on your gun and everything. It reminds me of Modern Warfare 2 2022, but way better, more meaningful, less pointless attachments. There's not like 50 million sights and stuff like that. I wish you could do more changes to your guns and stuff mid-match because you have to be at the main menu to really get down to it. I wish you could do more changes mid-match, like swapping out a sight or something like that. Even though you can't calibrate it mid-match, it would be a good medium to be able to make a change in attachments or something that you could tune next time in the main menu. There's these loadout share codes where you can share your gun along with all the attachments and the way that they're calibrated just by generating a code, and you can just copy paste it, message it to a friend. They can turn around, get your exact gun. I think this is really cool for friends to be able to share their setups as well as get setups from content creators, whatever the case may be. I think this is the future. I could definitely see Call of Duty or other games stealing this concept. Vehicles on here are pretty good. I haven't flown the helicopter yet, and I don't think there are any jets, but I manned the guns on the helicopter. I've driven a few tanks as well as Humvees and transport vehicles. They don't drive as well as they do on Battlefield games, but I definitely think this game has 2042 beat in a lot of areas. Pretty much most areas. The vehicles, especially the armored ones, seem to be really good from getting from open areas to the objective areas within the capture mode, protecting you from all the snipers laying prone in random areas. The graphics are really good and customizable, but I would like to see some anti-aliasing options, such as Fidelity FX. You can really make the graphics set up for performance, visibility, or to just be really immersive or whatever the case may be. You can kind of tune it somewhere in between. Really a lot of options, especially for a free-to-play game. You can even customize the color of the enemy hit markers, which in turn changes the color of their blood, apparently. Again, I definitely think them using the texture streaming method is probably really good for not being so demanding on people's hard drives, the way that something like Call of Duty is, despite still having texture streaming. Their files just get bigger and bigger constantly because of all the items they constantly pack into the store on Call of Duty.